Hey everybody, welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosfler with the good folks from TCGplayer as always. And this week we are showing off some new cards. That's right. This is a wild deck that a version of it 5-0 to League last month, and I saved it, and now I get to play Lavinia, Deputy Detentions, and all kinds of fun stuff from Ravnica Allegiance. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, with that said, I don't think I want to keep this hand. Two 4-drops. As much as I love the vial in that hand, it's just not doing anything. Oh, look at this dream, though. Now we're living the dream right here. Sphinx of Foresight. Well, you know what? It is in my opening hand. I'm going to scry 3 at the beginning of my first upkeep. That's awesome. So I get to scry 1 here. I get to keep this Reflector Mage on top. And now I get to reveal my Sphinx of Foresight. Okay, I'm trying to figure out exactly what this means. And now in my upkeep, I'm gonna scry 3. That's awesome. Okay. All right, so we're going to scry 3 here, more Reflector Mage, and a Thought-Knots here, huh? Well, honestly, I may as well just keep them all, right? Now, we don't know how good Reflector Mage is going to be in the matchup, I suppose, so there's that, but I'll go ahead and give it, I'll go like this. I don't think it matters too much here, but I mean, heck, we've got all our lands, and now we really got everything we need here. So this deck's really cool. Like I said, it's a blue-white Taxes deck, but now we get to play one of the coolest tax effects of all in Lavinia. Really excited to show this one off here. Of course, here on Mining Modern with TCGplayer every week, it's what we do when the new set comes out. We show off the new cards. So it looks like our opponent is having some fun as well. Soul Sisters here. I think I'll be pathing that thing eventually, but in the meantime, we may as well just Reflector Mage it. So what I'm actually going to do here is pass the turn up. And if my opponent just wants to send the Sarah Ascendant in, well, maybe not. I was going to say, if my opponent sends Sarah Ascendant in, maybe I'm just supposed to block with Mutavault, because they're going to path the Mutavault, but then that actually shuffles the top of my deck, and I kind of like my deck. But the bluff did work. We kept our opponent from attacking, so that's something. Now, I don't actually know what our matchup is like against Soul Sisters, but I guess we're going to find out pretty quickly here. They're going to have plenty of cards in hand thanks to these Squadron Hawks, but, you know, Sarah Ascendant is fortunately something we've got handled for a little while here. Lavinia probably not going to be very good, but Reflector Mage is going to be very good. It turns out there's just all kinds of good hate cards in these blue-white colors now. In fact, this is just kind of the dream, right? We get a Reflector Mage, the Sarah Ascendant away. Or better yet, I could Reflector Mage the Squadron Hawk away so my opponent can't play Squadron Hawks next turn. That's kind of tempting. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm going to hit the Sarah Ascendant, and the next turn I'm just going to Thought-Knots it out of their hand, and that's how you turn Reflector Mage into a permanent answer right there. Pretty nice. All right, so we pass the turn back. I mean, our deck does kill fairly slowly, but they can't play the Thought. They do have the Martyr's Sand, so they're going to have a lot of life here. So the Sarah Ascendant would have been a problem this turn if not for Reflector Mage into Thought-Knots. Fortunately, we've got that covered, as this deck can do. We're going to draw another Reflector Mage here, which isn't bad. I'm just going to take this opportunity to go ahead and Thought-Knots here the Sarah Ascendant out of their hand. Hopefully they don't have more where that came from. Looks like we probably, I mean, this might actually force them to pop the Martyr before combat, which will allow us to get in. That, or they're getting slightly less life off of it, so I guess it's a win either way here. All right, what's the hand look like here? Well, you know what? I actually don't mind these cards. The Path to Exile is annoying, but the double Sarah Ascendant, that's actually going to be kind of rough. But we do have the Path. There's Uriak Champion. We should be able to get through. I mean, actually seems like we're going to be okay here. Meaning, it's going to take a while, but my opponent is going to try to gain 18 life here, and they very well might. What we do have working out for us, though, is that we do have some late game engines that we can build to, right? We have, and they're just going to path it, they're just going to pop it. Okay. And, you know, honestly, that's why I'm willing to let them path my Thought-Knots here. Because it's fine, right? They're going to use that on something eventually. May as well let them use it on the Thought-Knots here now. I only have so many ways to deal with the... you know, I only have so many ways to deal with Sarah Ascendants, and because they have 2 of them, I kind of felt like we actually had to let... just going to go ahead and dismiss... Let's see if we can figure out their hand. We know they have Uriak Champion, 2 Hawks, and Ascendant now. And then 1 Unknown. Okay. I wish it automatically dismissed all when you did this. All right, there's the Ascendant we know about. Okay, so yeah, we only have so many ways to deal with the Ascendant. So rather than fight over that Thought Knot Seer, by taking the path, essentially and leaving them two of these, let's just deal with it in the only way we can, which is to end up being to path this thing. So we'll take one here. The good news for us is we're actually going to get some work out of Sphinx of Foresight. Ravnica Legion's coming through in the clutch here. We got plenty of mana to work with too. All right, so first thing is, well, I guess I don't need to. I could path an attack. I should probably do that. Probably worth giving them the land since we know they can pretty much do whatever they want next turn anyways. Maybe not. Let's see. It's that or don't attack this turn. Maybe I don't plan on attacking this turn. It's at 35. Not worth it anyways. What I do want to do this turn is get in my Sphinx of Foresight here. So this is going to be really nice. I mean, this should, in theory, now that we've taken their, we got rid of their path. We have our own path. We have a Reflector Mage to deal with the Pride Maid at some point in the future. And with the Sphinx of Foresight, hopefully we can draw to our relevant cards in the matchup every turn. Our goal here is going to be to assemble an Eldrazi Displacer, essentially. That is the card our opponent's deck has the hardest time defeating. So I think that's going to be the plan. And I think that the way we've played this game, basically using our Thought Knots here just as a 1-for-1 sort of removal spell worked out fine. This is an interesting attack. I guess I can do this to make it a 4/4 instant speed. Just go ahead and pass the Sarah Ascendant here. Block the Squadron Hawk. All right, so this is working out pretty reasonably for me thus far, I think. We get to take down the Hawk. We take 3, but, well, probably 4 if they didn't even sack the Martyr of Sands. So we take 3. Now we just start scrying, though, and this is the value right here. Spellstutter Sprite, huh? I could have up to 2 fairies. I'm actually in, I think. Yeah, I can get behind this. All right, so we know our opponent has a Squad Hawk left over there. So, what do we want to do? Probably fire up the Mutavault and attack? Hard to say exactly. I don't know that I want to burn the Reflector Mage right away. I probably should, just for the tempo. I don't know that it changes that much, though. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just going to fire up the Mutavault, because we can take another hit from this Pride Maid, I think, before we have to worry about it. But this allows me to just attack with everything here. Protection from black and red. We don't have to worry about that. I guess it would be moderately annoying if our opponent double blocked our Mutavault and let it die. Didn't actually sacrifice to gain life with their Martyr of Sands. That would be something. But I feel okay here. I think look, it's going to take a long time to kill them. But we've got to try, right? So we're going to start attacking here. We're going to get in damage while we can. And they're going to reveal their hand to us again here. Wow, what the heck is this? Oh. Huh. Well, that's unfortunate. Also very unfortunate that we can't counter this with our Spellstutter Sprite. So I would imagine that they are going to... Man, this card's kind of good. Look, I knew Collective Brutality was broken. This card's kind of good too. So they're going to destroy our Sphinx, right? And they're going to destroy the Sphinx. And they're going to put a counter on their creatures. So I guess I'm holding a Reflector Mage for another turn here. It is fortunately a sorcery, and they do have to tap a creature, although it's not a huge cost to tap the Auriok Champion. Yeah, this Pride Maid's going to be annoying. We're definitely going to need to scry into some answers here. I mean, we do have access to them. But we'll see what happens. Yep, Squad Hawk comes down. So this is good for us. So my opponent's going to burn their life gain triggers here. I mean, not that it doesn't make sense for them to, right? But they're going to cast their Squadron Hawks, burn their life gain triggers. I'm going to Spellstutter Sprite one of them. and then I'm going to Reflector Mage the Pride Mate. So that's going to give us the most time possible here, but we are still going to need to actually find answers. I suppose they might go for the... Oh, they're actually going to go for the collective effort here. Well, guess I'm not going to get value in this case over my... Yeah, fair enough, I guess. I'm not going to get value out of my Spellstutter Sprite. This is a Sphinx, not a fairy. This is, in fact, not a fairy. I can get up to 2 fairies. It's not enough, so the Sphinx is going to go here. That's going to make this game a lot harder. But we hopefully can draw out of it here. And you know what? There you go. There's Path to Exile. So that certainly helps quite a bit here. I wonder if that changes anything. I wonder if that means we can now attack... I really want to keep my Spellstutter Sprite. I want to keep my Mutavault alive so the Spellstutter Sprite does something. I have the path for the Pride Mate now. So the question is how to get the most value out of the Reflector Mage. I wonder if it might be bouncing that squad. Well, no, it's probably got to make more sense to bounce the Auriok Champion. All right, so this gives me enough. I can add to the board. Bounce the Auriok Champion here. So on our turn, we can either go for the Spellstutter Sprite play if we need to, or more likely, I'll just end up pathing this Pride Mate. You know, maybe I could Reflector Mage a Pride Mate there, but since we already have an answer to the Pride Mate, you know, I'm kind of fine not, right? I'm kind of fine just... I guess we just have to path it. I suppose if my opponent plays a 1-drop, we can still get that with the Spellstutter Sprite here. You know, the thing about a Hate Bear, I'm sorry, we're playing Hate Bears, about a Soul Sisters deck is, you know, there are not that many win conditions in the deck necessarily, so if we can find an answer to what they have going on here, but we are going to need to draw well. You know, we have cards we can draw that will just lock it up. I mean, if we draw Displacer, for instance, and just start blinking our Reflector Mages, I mean, the game's going to end, but, you know, we could also just die to this Flying Assault before we get there. Yeah, and it's actually worked out on the mana a little unfortunately here that I can't actually Spellstutter Sprite. I wonder if I should have bounced, instead of the Auriok Champion, bounced the Squad Hawk. That would have meant they couldn't play any of these this turn. But it would have meant they still had the Auriok Champion and they're still gaining a bunch of life, so I'm not sure. Could have countered the Martyr of Sands, but I'm trying to hold this for a spell that actually matters, right? And I don't think that this matters. Now, I guess our problem is we're actually just going to be dead in 3 turns in the air here, huh? So maybe I should have just countered this as we're going to end up having to trade anyways. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible I should have bounced the Squadron Hawks here. Yeah, that might have been the difference here. I mean, it's obviously going to depend on what we draw. Okay, we're going to get Ghost Quartered. Fine. Clear our deck out a little bit, I suppose. Now I might just need a... And now we may as well just do this. I guess I should have ended up countering the Martyr of Sands. Because they're going to end up getting an activation out of this. You know, like I said, I don't think that's going to be the difference in the game, right? I don't think this one Martyr of Sands is changing the course of what's happening here. I mean, we're still dead in 2 turns. They still only get in for 4 here. So we're basically still on the same two turn clock that we were on, I think. Another Pride Mate has come along, huh? Well, they certainly drew a little better than we did in this game, and I don't know, I could have bought a little more time, but if the right cards aren't on top of our deck, it wasn't going to matter. Second Spellstutter Sprite, obviously. Oh, it would have been so good 2 turns ago. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to pull this one out now. Our opponent's finally out of cards, but it turns out their last card was the perfect card. Yeah, I mean, all they have to do here is attack us in the air. We can take 2, though? I mean, I guess we can block. If they actually go for the all-out attack... What is this? How does this work out for us here? I think what I have to do here is hope that they did not draw a white card. I think our only out is to hope that they did not draw a white card for their Martyr of Sands. This only helps legendary creatures. None of these are legendary. So that's not going to matter. I think I just have to hope that a double block on the Pride Mate here actually works. I don't think that I'm missing anything. You know, if their last card in hand is white, we're going to lose the game here. But if not, I guess we go to 4. We get to take the Pride Mate off the board. I mean, not the end of the world. Let's see what they reveal here. They revealed an Avid Mind Sensor. Okay, we never had a chance anyways. We were just always going to get outdrawn in this one, so it doesn't matter. All right, fair enough. On to game 2. Their deck's kind of cool. All right, so what do we want here? This feels like a matchup where Deputy Detentions is just going to shine. Same with Cataclysmic Gearhulk. Lavinia, unfortunately, I love you, and I love this deck. But Lavinia not quite going to work here. So what else do we want? Sony Silence is a no. Rest in Peace is a no. Forge Cinder's a no. This is our board wipe protection against Anger of the Gods or Pyroclasms. Lavinia, don't need. Dovin Bond. I did put this in here for fun. Dovin the Grand Arbiter. So that's a thing. But I'm not quite sure this is the matchup where we want it. We want this against control decks. Mold Drifters, huh? Mold Drifters aren't the worst thing I've ever seen, but to be quite honest, they just don't fit very well here. So I'm just going to... Oh, this is 61, though. I need to make one more cut. I could cut a wall. The wall's pretty medium, but it's certainly not bad. Honestly, I think our whole deck is pretty reasonable against them. I don't know that we drew particularly well. Though it might just also be a bad matchup, right? We have all these tax effects, and we're trying to really punish them and get them, and they're just like, play basic planes, play a 1-mana 6/6, go. You know, it's a little more difficult to interact with. But you know what? As long as I keep getting Sphinx of Foresight in my opening hand, I'm just going to keep every hand I have. That's just how it's going to work. It's hilarious. My opponent's probably like, man, they're playing 4 Sphinx? That's a really big deal. No, we're just playing 1. All right, so let's scry 3 here. I mean, keep in mind, I did keep a 5-land hand here. We're going to be on the play, so we're not going to draw this Vial. So I actually don't know that I want the Vial at all. Probably not. What do I feel about the Temple, though? I kind of like the Temple. I kind of like the turn 3 Thought Knots here. We do need to actually beat our opponent down, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that. We'll just set up for a turn 2 Thalia, turn 3 Thought Knots here, turn 4 Sphinx of Foresight. That's actually a pretty good curve, I think. Even if it means we don't do anything right away here on the first turn. Excuse me. Getting over being sick. That's, man, it's the winter. I've been sick a few times. It's been rough. All right, so the turn 1 Sarah's in it from our opponent. Not surprising, but it's going to be okay, too, I think. So we've got the Seachrome Coast here. Play out our Thalia. I mean, the one thing our hand doesn't do right now is answer a turn 2 Sarah Ascendant becoming a 6/6, right? So if our opponent were to just play land, Martyr of Sands, gain 15 life, attack us for 6 flying, well, we'd be in quite a bit of trouble. But, wow, it looks like they actually kept a 1-lander, huh? Well, this might be somewhat punishing for them, as a matter of fact. We get attack for 2 first strike here. Play our Temple. And the mana base is working out perfectly here, huh? Play our Thought Knot. Now, the thing is, of course, we need to not draw more lands, but thanks to Foresight resolving will help us do that. So, all right. What is this? What the heck is our opponent's deck? Path of Bravery? Well, you know what? I guess that's a pretty good anthem. A Lone Rider. I remember this card. Eldritch Moon Standout or something here. First strike lifelink, and it becomes extremely good if you gain 3 or more life this turn. So that's actually a threat. Honestly, everything our opponent has here is pretty scary. Jeez, how are we going to win this game? I think I basically have to hope my opponent doesn't draw a land, because if they draw a land, we are in trouble. I don't even know what I'm supposed to take away from them here. I obviously leave them the Path and the Ranger because those cost the most. The Lone Rider is honestly terrifying, though. It's so easy for them to gain 3 life in a turn and just have a 4/4 first strike life-linking Trampler, which is, I mean, is that scarier than a Sarah Ascendant that they're 12 life? I mean, it's the same thing, I guess, right? Oh, man. And I guess I just have to take the Sarah Ascendant, but I'll tell you, it doesn't feel very good. So, all right. I mean, I guess it is what it is. That Path of Bravery, at least. Creature spells cost one more. That thing's a long way away from coming down. We're going to have a flyer next turn, but my opponent probably needed to miss there. They hit on their second possible opportunity to hit, and that's frankly a disaster for us. But we will give it the good old college try here. You know, if my opponent misses that land drop, maybe we just kind of roll in this game, right? I play Sphinx, I use it to scry, find removal, and we just kind of hang in there. But, you know, if they keep a hand that's all gas but one land and then draw into the second land on I guess it's turn 3. I mean, they did miss a land drop, but they only missed out on one usable mana, right? That's one last turn, one this turn. That's sort of another way to look at that. You know, they missed one land drop, but thus far it's only cost them 2 mana in the game. And while we've been pretty mana efficient, I mean, we didn't do anything with our first mana, so we're only 1 mana ahead of them, and that's just not that much, right? It just doesn't matter that much. Now, this, of course, this is huge for us. So the question is whether or not I want to run it out now or take a hit. I think I'm going to go ahead and actually just plan on taking the hit. I'm going to attack with both of these creatures while I can here. Soul Warden's pretty annoying, but that's all right. We'll get in for 6, put him down to 33 at least. It does make that Lone Rider slightly worse, I suppose. But Deputy Detention, that was huge. Our deck, like I said, our deck definitely has... I feel like a lot of our cards match up pretty well against what our opponent's doing, but, you know, they do have the... Sometimes they just make 6/6s on turn 2 and kill you, so... but we do have Deputy Detentions for that, so that's going to work out pretty well here. I'll take this hit down to 18. Or, I'm sorry, down to 8. Now I'll start scrying. You know, I don't know that we're going to be able to get through just the absurd amount of value that our opponent has going on over there, but things going to be transforming. So we, like I said, we need help, but the first strike is what's killer here. All right, let's see what we can find. Displacer's pretty good. Displacer, in all honesty, is kind of the dream, actually. It's exactly what we wanted here. We even have the land for it. That's just beautiful. All right, so the thing is, I actually have access to 6 mana right now. 6 Eldrazi mana, so to speak. So the real question is what I do about the Sarah Ascendant this turn. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I think that I'm going to attack with my Sphinx of Foresight. Get in my 4 damage. As meaningless as it might be, I've got to at least play like we can win the game someday. I think I'm supposed to play the Displacer. I think that's just going to be the most powerful play we can make here. It puts another body onto the board, which, you know, may or may not be relevant. So now I can... This is interesting. What I think I might... No, I don't have the mana to do that. I was going to say, I might chump the It That Rides as One. What a stupid name. I was going to say, I might block it with the Mutavault and then blink the Sarah Ascendant, but I also might just take the 4. The problem with taking the 4, this is so rough. The problem with taking the 4 is that we just die to Squadron Hawks over the next several turns in that scenario, which is not... I really don't want to die to poke damage from Squadron Hawks. It's one thing we don't have any cards in hand, but it's another to just lose the Squadron Hawks. That said, we can keep the Sphinx back to block the Squad Hawks. You know what? The Deputy Detention is going to deal with the Squadron Hawks pretty well until they remove the Deputy. But anyways, I think what I'm getting at here is that I'm just going to take the 4. Or yeah, I'm going to take the 4. And you know what? It's not going to feel good, but I think that's what we're going to do. Now, keep in mind, I could also start trying to lock my opponent out of their draw step, right? But it actually only really works against sorcery speed threats, not necessarily the instant speed path to exiles that we're actually scared of in this circumstance. So also worth noting, I could block with the entire team and kill the It That Rides as One here, but I think I'm going to take 4. And trust me, it doesn't feel good, but it's the position we're in. You know, the good news is on the next turn, if we just even if we just pass the turn here, our Eldrazi Displacer can handle everything. In fact, its second Displacers. Is it good? It's good insurance. Sure that it's actually good. Maybe it is, because the only way we can win the game is to have a Displacer in play, I think. And we do have a land drop this turn. And the only way our opponent kills us in the immediate future is to have removal for that Displacer. So I think what we're going to do here, I now have double Displacer up. So I can blink the Serra Ascendant and the It That Rides as One with Displacer. And then if at some point I can Deputy of Detention. Well, I guess I definitely want to attack here, so. This is honestly kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say exactly what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and attack with these two, though. Poke in for 6 while we can. So the question is whether I pass the turn here or whether I just play something like Deputy of Detention. I think I'm actually going to play Deputy of Detention. You know, maybe this is not the right play. It's actually really hard to say in this particular circumstance, but I think that adding to the board is going to be the correct thing to do here. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. It doesn't add much to the board, and we're not going to get our quote-unquote value out of it. But I actually just think blinking getting rid of this thing is just fine. When it comes back, it'll be a 1/1. Much less scary, and I can just keep blinking the flyer and block a flyer. And, I mean, heck, we can blink this. It doesn't quite have the... yeah, this is just so good for us. You know, the thing is, it doesn't quite have the ability to be broken in the way a Fiend Hunter would. That said, it's pretty powerful in its own right here. You know, we can't put the Exile trigger on the stack and then put the Returns to Play trigger on top of it the way Fiend Hunter works, because it's 2 separate triggers on Fiend Hunter or Oblivion Ring or whatever. Whereas that is, you know, not the case with W Detention or some of the Detention Sphere, even, I think. The way they've worded these abilities since, it's all one thing. So we can't do those tricks, but we can still do a lot of work with it. I mean, gosh, if I really wanted, I could blink this. I mean, is that play even good? I guess it really doesn't matter too much, right? I was gonna say I could blink the Deputy Detentions and remove the Serra Ascendant if I really wanted. The biggest problem for us, I think, is, this is going to sound so bad to say, but I spent some time at the beginning setting up the stream and everything. I'm going to run out of clock. We're going to lose this game to clock. Certainly not a bad draw there. All right, well, if I can win this game, I'll let them have the match, all right? It's Soul Sisters, right? This is what they do. They make the game go on forever, and they got double Soul Ward. It's a little silly. Do I care about a Path to Bravery? It's definitely more than their starting life total. So you're going to give them +1/+1 and gain a bunch more life. As annoying as that actually is, and is annoying, I just have to take the Ranger of Eos, I think. All right, well, what's my attack this turn? Do I even have an attack now? Because I just don't even have a good attack anymore. I guess I could attack with Athalia. I really don't think they will be blocking it. I want to keep this back to block the Squadron Hawk, I guess? Maybe not. Maybe I just get in with this. This play actually seems a little better. I don't know how we're going to kill our... I mean, if I were to guess... Excuse me. If I were to guess how we actually win this game, say we're at a paper tournament, right? I believe that this game will end by us thought not searing our opponent's draw step and locking it out over the course of forever. I think that that's how the game is going to end. You know, so that said, we'll probably lose because it's Magic Online and we started with a you know, vastly shorter amount of clock, all of which is fine. You know, it's playing Mighty Modern for me is about showing off these decks and exploring the format and honestly learning them myself. It's not about the wins and the losses. I've explained that plenty. So if I lose this one to clock, I lose this one to clock, whatever, you know? If we, in the next 5 minutes, can get to a point in which we believe we would win this game, then we've learned something, right? And we've also learned that when playing against mono white life gain, you should probably go as fast as you possibly can, not waste any extra time on Magic Online. So lesson learned for everybody. All right, so now I'll probably turn my Deputy of Detention back to, I'm just going to eat all these Squadron Hawks with it so I can keep attacking with my Flyer, and 20 turns from now we'll win the game or something. That's a nice, I mean, like I said, we're scrying every turn. We have multiple displacers, so we have protection. It's just going to be so difficult for us to lose the game right now, but it's going to be kind of difficult for us to win the game, I suppose. I really have no better attack. I guess I could attack with my Thought Knot Seer. I'll attack with a Thought Knot Seer. I imagine my opponent will just take it. But if they threw all the team in front of it, that's fine with me too. All right, they didn't though. All right, we need flyers, so I'm gonna play out this Flicker Wisp. I should probably just flicker my Thought Knot and take another card out of their hand, I think. So I want to make sure that I put the... Yeah, they draw. Then it'll come back in the inset before they get to untap, and we will get to look at their hand here. And we will take this Path of Bravery. All right, so they're down to a Flagstones and a Hawk. I mean, as you can see, we are... we're definitely on the way to winning here, right? I mean, we have the board under control. We still have a Flicker Wisp to handle this attack. You could also block and then flicker this out of play until the end step. There's just so many options available to us here. I also just block. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're blocking no matter what here. I mean, I guess that is the play. I don't have enough mana. I could block the Sarah Ascendant with the Flicker Wisp and then blink the Flicker Wisp with the Displacer, declaring it blocked, bringing it back, so the Flicker Wisp. Okay, that's not going to work because it brings it back on the end step. So we wouldn't actually be able to get rid of the Squadron Hawk. So I think I'm actually just going to have to make a small concession here and lose some. That's fine. Like, I actually think this plays just fine with me. It doesn't really matter too much. You know, what we did with the Flicker Wisp is we got the Path of Bravery out of their hand. You know, what happens here, I think, is not quite as important. On the, you know, what happens to it after that point. All right, so we'll go ahead and do this. We'll take 2, go to 1. But from now on, we should realistically just have to make land drops and be good. I guess the biggest danger would be our opponent just having more creatures than we do, but as long as we have mana, that shouldn't be an issue. Definitely don't want that second Thaw, yeah. Yep, thanks to Foresight doing work in Modern. This card's been sweet. All right, Secret Coast, that'll come into play tapped. Can I attack here? All right, so on my next turn, I'm going to just blink this. And it's going to get all the other Squadron Hawks. I guess there actually is still a way in which we lose here, I suppose. So maybe I won't attack this turn with the... All right, so my opponent has 3 ground attackers. I have 3 ground blockers. That seems fine. We'll get in with these 2. What a crazy match this has been. It's been a fun game, at least. The first game, a little frustrating. This game, much more fun. So the plan is going to be pretty cool here on my opponent's attack step. I'm assuming they just attack with everything here. And it's actually going to work out pretty neat because we're going to make some blocks and we're going to get him with the Deputy Detention. Oh, just the Flyers, huh? All right, so let's go ahead and displace this. Gain a bunch more life. Sure, why not? All right, now let's displace Deputy attentions. I mean, I guess if my opponent had Path here, it would get us, but fortunately they did not. All right, so again, unfortunately, our opponent gains 1 billion life, but we get rid of all the Squadron Hawks. Like I said, I think we're just literally going to time out before we win this game. But I think it's pretty clear that we would win the game. I mean, every time, every single turn that we just make a land drop and pass, we're getting further and further ahead in the game, right? So I guess I'll get in for 4 again. Can I actually play out? Can I afford to play this other displacer now? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. No, I want to keep up double activation, so I'll wait one more turn on it. I mean, I'm just gonna time out again, but it's honestly okay. I'm not upset. It is a bunch of triggers on Magic Online, that's for sure. All right, so we'll go ahead and blink this. Now we will go ahead and blink this. Remember, important to keep up your colorless mana. No, I'm pretty sure we would definitely win this game if it were to go long enough because, right now, look at the board we have. If we were to just make land drops and have this board, we're not going to win by combat damage. We're going to win by milling them out with the Thought-Knots here, right? That's what happens in the long 25-minute version of this game, right? Is, our opponent just gets Thought-Knot locked out of the game and eventually they deck while we have enough displacers and Thought-Knots and deputy and just everything that they can never kill us, even if we're stuck at 1 life here. Yeah, that's my belief anyways. We'll play another Thought-Knot. We'll see what their hand's looking like. I guess we'll have a really good idea after this if we were going to win the game or not. We'll take their Auriok champion. So they're officially down to a plains in hand. So I think that we've made it, right? I think that we've gotten there, as they say. So I'm just going to let things go. It doesn't matter. We clearly aren't going to kill. Look, we actually wouldn't even going to kill him with damage here because every time we blink something, they gain life off these Soul Wardens. But, look, at this attack, for instance, right? My opponent, they send everything in. I put this here. I ignore that. And this is actually the way I can do this. And this is so silly. Oh, this has trample, doesn't it? I can't actually do that. Okay. I was gonna block and then sack. I actually have to throw things in front of this. So what we would do here, cancel. All right. What we would do here is we would throw 2 Thought-Knots in front of this. And yeah, our opponent would get a card, but guess what? We still have a 3rd Thought-Knot. And we'll blink that. Oh, I don't want to block it. Okay. What a crazy match. Not one I'd ever want to play in paper, that's for sure. I've played a little bit of Soul Sisters in my life. I've played against it. Obviously, these triggers all go much faster in paper, but like I said, this works out perfectly fine here because look, we take no damage. We get to take this thing off our opponent's board. Yes, they get a draw card, but we have the replacement displacer to deal with that, etc., etc. Then they get milled out, everybody. There you go. That's how you do it. We'd at least win this game. I don't know if we'd win the match, but we would win this game. Everybody, thank you for watching. We'll get to the next one, see if we can actually finish on time. Hey, everybody. Here we go with another stab at Lavinia Taxes here. against the slow mono white life gain deck. Well, it certainly took a while and we timed out, but that's the way it goes sometimes. This time around, hopefully things go a little better. Lavinia pretty good against our opponent's deck so far, I have to say. We have the Celestial Colonnade. But you know what? I think we might be able to catch something here with our Spell Stutter Spray, which would be pretty nice. I'll go ahead and do this. We don't have another play here other than just pass and hope our opponent plays a 1-drop we can counter. It probably goes without saying that Botanical Sanctum into Mishra's Bauble and Tormod's Crypt It's some sort of boring artifact deck, that's for sure, right? Whatever that boring artifact deck actually... Oh my gosh, I can't do anything about that. That's going to name our displacer. Yeah, I mean, whether it's Lantern or whether it wins with a different win condition or mills you out with Hypno Rivulet or whatever these crazy artifact decks are doing these days. And that is clearly what we're playing against. That's the deck that plays Spyglass. It's like Cloistered Bottle. All kinds of weird cards in this deck. Honestly, it's one that looked like it would be pretty cool for mining Modern. But I haven't done it because the deck idea is cool. But man, playing it would be such a slog. And not just a slog and then we played against Mono White and it was long. It's like every single game is just a grind with crazy interactions that I obviously wouldn't know because I've not spent 6 months practicing this super complicated War of Invention deck, right? And then YouTube would hate me anyways for messing up. So I'm going to keep things pretty low key here. All right, well, I guess I should just go for this Displacer. I think we have to... Our opponent knows what our hand is now, so I guess we just have to try to kill him. Fortunately, we do have the Stony Silences in the sideboard. I don't even know exactly how good that is against the deck, right? You know, does it do anything against Sorcerer Spyglass, for instance? And yeah, it is the Hypno Rivulet deck. I mean, there's just no way I'm going to sit here for an hour and let them mill me out with this. I will scoop long before that. But in the meantime, we've actually got a... This is the big turn, right? Next turn, we get untap and have double Spellstutter Sprite. So hopefully at least get a counter, you know, say a 2-drop or something if we really wanted. You know, don't know if that's going to be possible. But if our opponent doesn't have a big play this turn, we might be able to get back in the game that way. And they're casting something here. Let's see what it is. Oh. An Ensnaring Bridge, you say. Unfortunately, I can actually beat that with Deputy Detention. They have 3 cards in hand. It's got it. This is so cool. I added this Ravnica Allegiance card to the deck just cuz, and it's going to pay off immediately, whether we win the game or not. I mean, look, we actually have a card to deal with Bridge. Okay, it's all Spellstutter Sprites. All right, so this can attack this turn, I believe. So no reason to play the Deputy here. We'll just live on these Spellstutter Sprites for the moment. So I think, depending on what my opponent does, the plan's going to be to just... If they were to just play a 2-drop, I would probably just play out 2 Spellstutter Sprites to counter it rather than using the Mutavault. Because that way, next turn, I can fire up the Deputy... I can just play Deputy Detention, send the team in. You know, without having to worry about the bridge or anything like that. That's the most mana efficient way to do things, but it's also the most power efficient way to do things, or, you know, the fastest clock way to do things, or whatever you want to, however you want to describe that, you know. Ensnaring Bridge, I'm just going to let resolve. My opponent may be about to learn what Deputy Detention does. I mean, maybe they know, it's just a thing they're going to have to deal with, but at the same time, if we hit a land here, I'm actually going to have Spellstutter Sprite protection for this, which would be pretty cool. And there's a land. All right, so blue, white, play the Deputy Detention, remove both Ensnaring Bridges from play. That always feels good. And get in there for 5. This is cool. You know, I say it always feels good as if I'm like a pro. This is like the second time I've ever cast this card in my life. The first being the last match. All right, well, we'll get in for 5 here. Our opponent takes it, and now, guess what? We have a Spellstutter Sprite equals 3. And we even has Phantasmal Image to copy Deputy of Detention, which, by the way, could take Sorcerer Spyglass out of the equation and unlock Displacer on Spellstutter Sprite, countering everything. This deck is cool. I really like the cards this deck has in it. It's a little slow to get going, right? I mean, I haven't had an Aether Vial game yet. Imagine this deck with Aether Vial on turn 1, just vialing in all of this and then using your mana to activate Displacer. I would look pretty good. That said, our opponent has 4 cards in hand, and anything they play that costs 3 or less is going to get countered. Wow, they even have to... Oh, wow. So they're going for a War of Invention here. Oh, an Engineer Explosives, huh? X equals 3. I believe that makes the converted mana cost 3. which means I think that this spell starter sprite is going to counter it. All right, and look at that, it did. Wow, what a cool interaction there. I mean, also, by the way, don't look now, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Excuse me, I'm sorry. We actually have 9 points of power in play if I want to use the Mutavault here. But I probably don't, to be honest. I probably just want Thought. Oh, I can actually do that. I can do everything. I can just Thought Knots here, then wait a minute. Oh, no, I don't have enough to do this. I'm one short of doing that. Okay. This is Eldrazi mana. This is probably good enough. We'll see what their hand looks like here. They can... Okay, so... They've got... They can bobble into another card. They can Stirrings to dig. They can Word to, go get whatever. They can... what the heck does this card do? Bottled Cloister, huh? At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, exile all cards from your hand face down. At the beginning of each of your upkeep, return them all, then draw a card. So it actually... Oh, this is kind of cool. It actually protects your hand from stuff like discard on their turn, and then draws you an extra card every turn in exchange for giving up access to your own stuff. So that's pretty neat. I'm going to let them have the War of Invention, and I'm going to let them have the Bottled Cloister, and I'm going to hit the Ancient Stirrings here, because I'm going to fire up the Mutavault after this. And alternatively, I could just Thought Knot, Phantasmal Thought Knot, get rid of Ancient Stirrings and War of Invention, leave them with a Cloister they can't cast. That might even be better. I was gonna just hit the Stirrings, attack with the Mutavault, put them down to 1, and then they can't actually produce the blue mana to cast the War of Invention, because both of these cost life. But I could just get rid of both of them forever. Oh, the first one's gonna take the Stirrings. Basically, do I want to put them to 1 or not? If they were to crack the bobble, hit a blue land, play a blue land, they still only have 2 sources of blue, but if their other draw is a Mox, I suppose, then they could whir for enough to get a bridge or whatever, which still wouldn't even beat us, but whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and Phantasmal Image my Thought Knots here. It can almost never not be the play, right? I'll hit the War of Invention. They can have their Bottled Cloister. I don't think that's beating me. All right, let's get in with the team. Put him down to 3 here. I'm guessing this is going to be a draw your card and scoop them up kind of game. I mean, I don't think our opponent has a lot of outs here. Then again, maybe they do. Maybe they just need to hit another Ensnaring Bridge at this point. Yeah, that's not even enough, though. Even if they hit Ensnaring Bridge right now, they would still have that Bottled Cloister in hand that they can't play. So they play out the bridge. They're at 3 life. And I have 4 1-power attackers that I can attack through a bridge. So our opponent, I think, is actually just dead here. Barring, some other sort of card I don't know about. But I think we're going to get there. Deputy of Detention is just absolute MVP in this. What a sweet game. Okay, so is Lavinia good here or not? That's the question, huh? Can't cast non-creature spells. Okay, so that includes War of Invention. And I believe the converted mana cost counts X on the stack, so I think this actually is just extremely good, as are the Stony Silences. Excuse me. Is Dovin good here? Probably not, right? Deputy of Detention is good for sure. Cataclysmic Gearhulk is actually pretty good. It wipes their board a lot. I can get behind this, I think. Now, what's not good? The Displacers are good for blinking our own stuff, but I probably don't need all of them. The Flicker Wisps are pretty good. The Reflector Mages are horrendous, so that's an easy cut. Now we can move out the Wall of Omens, which are just actual nothing here. Now we are going to play Stony Silence alongside Vial, which is obviously kind of awkward, but most of the time you can make it work, so it's fine. Because if you have a Vial hand, you have a Stony Silence in it, it's probably fine. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The other question is whether this is a matchup where we would want the Mole Drifters, huh? I mean, I'd play it over something that was bad, and I guess we do have these Path to Exiles that do nothing. I may as well play Mole Drifters, right? I mean, heck, at that point, may as well play the rest and play the Displacers, I guess. That or play Dovin. I just don't think Dovin's where we want to be here. the problem is that we can't deal combat damage to them, right? So, all right, this should be pretty nice. I mean, if our deck, if our Taxes deck here isn't set up against this deck, I mean, what's it really set up for, right? This will be fun. All right, so our opponent's going to be on play. I wonder what they did in their sideboard. I mean, as much as they were a surprise to us, if we were probably surprised to them too. I don't think they expected to get blown out by Deputy of Detentions, taking 2 Ensnaring Bridges off the board all in one fell swoop, and then attacking them. So that was nice. Whatever else this deck does, it's probably worth it for just that game. That was a cool moment. But I'd love to actually take down the match, so we'll see what happens here. Our opponent going deep into the tank on the sideboarding. These artifact decks, I'm really interested to see where the format goes with them, especially now in the post-KCI era, because basically, Lantern came out, and I thought Lantern was this is an awkward hand. I think I'm going to mulligan this. Not because of the vile Stony Silence interaction, but because the hand actually just does nothing, right? This Stony Silence could be a land and it would be unplayable, right? This hand would be unplayable. So it is a good card, but the 2 vials already mean you're mulliganing unless you just have 1 land and a hand stacked. So it's already a mulligan no matter what we do. So it may as well just mulligan. And yeah, I guess get rewarded for it a little bit here. I mean, I don't know if reward is the right word, but these are all cards, and the Cataclysmic Gearhulk can be very good against them in theory. Our opponent, they mulliganed as well, so that helps. No, the evolution of these artifact decks from the days, when we first saw Lantern pop up, the old days, right? When Zach Elsick made the finals of GP Oklahoma City with it in, I think, 2015. And then they became the War of Invention deck, and then they figured out that War of Invention wasn't the best. They figured out that Lantern wasn't the best way to play War of Invention. War of Invention is the best way to play Lantern, but the reverse is not true. So once you figure out that War of Invention is how you play these decks, gosh, I'm so sorry. I need some water. Once you figure out that War of Invention is what you want to be doing, you just build the best War of Invention deck you can. You don't play the best Lantern deck you can. Maybe they're the same deck. Maybe it's true that the best War of Invention deck is the best Lantern deck, but as you can see from this deck, maybe not. Maybe Bottled Cloister whatever is the best War of Invention deck. So it's hard to say for sure, but I do know that I'd like to find some lands here. Specifically, I'd like to find a land this turn for this Spell Sitter Sprite. Not quite. Well, doing nothing here doesn't feel great. That said, Spell Sight against us? I mean, that's not how I'm interacting. It is, right? I mean, it's not like Spell Guide is ever going to be bad against me, but it's not that great either. Excuse me. Because we have lots of stuff, right? Flicker Wisp and Displacer opens up so many options, not to mention that the plan probably is just going to be to put this vial up to 5, play Cataclysmic Gearhulk, and wipe most of their board. I don't know what that's 4 turns from now. Anything could happen, but that's what I'm thinking. All right, we'll go up to 2 on this. Oh my gosh. Well, that's pretty cool. I wonder if I should just file it in now. What I love about this card, too, is it only affects opponents. The thing is, they're probably not going to be worrying. But you know what? It also... All right, I'm going to pass. No, wait, maybe I shouldn't. No, I shouldn't. I should play it because it's a trigger. When they cast a spell that costs 0 mana, if no mana was spent on it, counter it. It's not whenever a spell would try to resolve if no mana was spent, counter it. So this actually, I believe, needs to be in play when the spell is cost. So we may as well just run it out there. All right, so here we go. We put Lavinia into play against the deck it's good against. I wonder how many cards in their hand we got rid of. The Ensnaring Bridge is, obviously it is a long-term problem, but the Cataclysmic Gearhulk is going to do some work. The Flicker Wisps, the Displacers. Look, we have it covered in the long term. If we can turn off a lot of their cards including stuff like War of Invention. You know, that's just going to be really good for us. Now, Chalice on 2, huh? Well, Chalice on 2 is sort of annoying. I wonder what I should do with my Ether Vial here. You know, I could respond to the trigger by putting in a 2. But that doesn't seem like it's really doing me much. It does mean I won't be able to counter anything with Spellstutter Sprite, but... Let's see. Hard to say for sure. I guess I just go ahead and take it up to 3. It's fine. We'll just stay on our plan of putting a Cataclysmic Gearhulk into play eventually. Say maybe we'll hit lands, maybe not. There's a land. Well, I guess since I can't cast well, you know what we might be able to do here? I'm gonna pay 2 life. 1, because the life probably doesn't matter. But also because we might be able to do some cool stuff here, right? If our opponent tries to do something that we want to Spellstutter Sprite, yeah, we can try to then use the Flicker Wisp on the Ensnaring Bridge. If they use Spellskite, that's fine. Then we get untap, blah, 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 right? We actually have a lot of options of what we can do here. We've been Talaria Wested. Okay, I assume they're just going to go get a land. No, they got an Engineered Explosives, huh? Okay. That's not bad. I'm going to go for this, I guess. Just go ahead and try to vial in a Flicker Wisp here. Hit the Chalice of the Void. Gonna be the plan anyways. Interesting, my opponent, I mean, you know, either they're getting a drink or whatever, or they're actually thinking about responding to this. Okay, well, they're they're thinking it through, I suppose. All right, so we are going to use the ability. We're going to put the Flicker Wisp into play. Now, I imagine they're going to redirect this to the Spellskite, but that's fine because it means on the end step, I guess it means we get to attack with our Lavinia is what it really means. But also, if they let this go, well, then we have access to... One, it's going to come back with nothing. So it's going to come back with 0 counters. So we actually just answered that just with a Flicker Wisp that can, you know, not attack at the moment, but we'll probably be able to attack eventually. Now, this is where I want to respond to this by putting a Displacer into play. That way, if we hit a land, colorless land specifically, but if we hit a land, we can activate it even. Stony Silence, huh? Well, if I didn't have this Ether Vial in play, I'd use it. But the Spellskite, like I said, just not even bothering me that much. So what if I just Phantasmal Imaged Flicker Wisp, exiling Bridge? None of this makes the Cataclysmic Gearhulk plan very good. However, I mean, it gets rid of Bridge for a turn. And then in theory, we can flicker it. No, I'm just going to pass with Spellstutter Sprite up instead. I think that's going to work out a little better for us here. You know, the thing is, I think, and, you know, I could be wrong here, but I think our opponent is going to just run out of castable cards at some point, right? At least as long as we have Lavinia in play. That said, if they engineered explosives for 3 here, it's just so bad for them if they do that, right? Also, for what it's worth, this Chalice of the Void now does half of what Lavinia does. Chalice of the Void has no counters on it. So when they cast a spell, convert mana cost equal to 0, say their Mishra's Baubles or their Tormod's Crypts we saw in game 1, or Mox Opals or whatever, those aren't going to work. So, like I said, our opponent just has a lot of dead cards in their deck. And we have some, I suppose. We have a few, especially while we're sitting here mana screwed, but... Cast with 1 color, but X equals 3. Good for you. That was smart. Okay, so... this is all just to kill my Vial, huh? I mean, I guess that's pretty good, but it does mean I get to slam the Stony Silence without fear at that point. All right, so Spell Stutter Sprite won't be countering that. So this is all just to kill my Vial. I mean, I guess it is pretty scary when I take it up to 5 or 4 here, but I certainly don't think they're expecting Cataclysmic Gearhulk, which would be pretty good. But, you know, it's also going to be pretty good if they blow this up and I just play a Stony Silence and now my Aether Vial doesn't matter anyway. So, and the other thing for them is that they pretty much have to do it right now, because if I untap and get to try to put my counter on the Vial, then heck, I'll just put in the Cataclysmic Gearhulk in response to them blowing it up, which is even more absurd because then I can sacrifice the Vial anyways. So if they really do let us untap here, and more importantly, let us put a counter on our Vial, we are going to be in great shape, I think. I mean, it's hard to say for sure. This game's still got a very long way to go. But, I mean, it's certainly looking like... I mean, this is it. The ability's on the stack, so now we're going to find out. Will it work or not? All right, it will not. So, that's fine. I actually don't even have a 4 to put in, so I can't do that. All right, Vial down. Honestly, not that worried. Remember how I said Aether Vial and Stony Silence play fine together? Yeah, this is why. Is that where you can play Stony Silence? So this matters for a lot of things, to be honest. It doesn't matter right now, and I still can't attack or whatever, but from now on, and as you can see, we did it. Like I said, that's all we had to... Our opponent's just going to run out of playable cards. The Chalice nukes their own 0-cost spells. The Lavinia nukes most big War of Inventions, right? I mean, obviously with 5 lands, it gets a little easier for them, but this hurts them. The Displacer's a long-term problem. Obviously, we have no lands right now. But the Stony Silence means that now your Spellskite also doesn't do anything. There's just too many cards in their deck that got locked out by ours. That's why we're playing the Taxes deck. Lavinia taking it down. That was a good one. Thanks for... Hey, everybody. Here we go with some more Mighty Modern. And, well, this just might be my favorite card because Sphinx of Foresight is in our hand yet again. Just the way I like it. And we're even on the play. So, this might be the best hand I've had yet. We can scry 3 here. Don't even know what I want to do with the scry 3, but we can do it. What's also cool is that you scry 3 not when you reveal it at the beginning of the game, but at the beginning of your first upkeep. So if your opponent goes first, you actually can see what they're playing before you scry. Now, in this case, we're just kind of digging through, throwing away lands or whatever, taking lands, whatever we want to do. But this card's so cool. It's just awesome. Anything that... Oh my gosh. All right, well. And this is a classic hand. I have no idea of what we need here. I guess what I'm going to do is put the Path on top and then the Temple? I mean, I think our hand here might just be great, though. We're going to play this Temple. Next turn, move it up to 1. We're going to... Depending on what... All of this is going to depend on what our opponent does, right? That's the beautiful thing about Modern. But I might just run out the Displacer off that Eldrazi Temple. Just get ahead on the curve and start beating them down if that's what we need to do. Or if they're going to go Mountain Goblin Guide, Zurgo Bellstriker, okay. I might be holding up Spell Stutter Sprite instead. Alright, so being on the play with an Aether Vial against a Zurgo Bellstriker deck, that's probably good for us. Excuse me. You know, I don't know that I necessarily have a lot of life gain or anything in my sideboard, but yeah, I honestly think it makes the most sense here to just hold up the Spell Stutter Sprite, even if that means taking damage, because can't block creatures with power 2 or greater. Okay, so that's fine. But think about it. That makes 2 mana use this turn. Next turn, I'll have 3 mana for Displacer, tap for it, but I also have 2 on the Vial to put in an image to copy whatever I want, and that's just much more efficient use of the mana / Vial mana than anything else we can do here. And then obviously on 4, we probably play Sphinx, etc. So, yep, I mean, that's just the reality of the way this was always going to go here, is that I might not catch one of their spells. And that's fine. I'm not upset about that by any means. You know, maybe I could have played the Displacer there and had a block and not taking two, but on the other hand, maybe my opponent was going to go Lava Spike, and I wanted to get value out of my Spell Stutter Sprite. So I still think we're in a perfectly reasonable position here because Displacer is going to take care of all of our problems, as it does. And of course, we have this path we know we left up there. Can't play it currently, though, which is fine. The beautiful thing here is I think I even get to attack. I mean, we're going to take a bunch of damage on the crackback here, but... Well, I say we're going to take a bunch of damage. I guess it depends. If my opponent just attacks all out, then sure, we'll take some damage. If they just swing with... Oh, Lavinia would get it! If they just swing with the Kari Zev, I get to violin this Phantasmal image and just copy Displacer if I want. Probably what I'm going to do. As much as I want to get value out of countering things with the Spell Stutter Sprite, I think it makes the most sense just to have some big blockers here. And just try to block Kari Zev. Alright, so on to the Kari Zev. Double block. Happy to take 4, go down to 14 here if it means just removing one of their better creatures. Yep, absolutely. So we're going to untap with Path in hand if we need it. We get to crack back for a lot. We're going to have Displacer activation up. I mean, to be quite honest, this game's getting out of hand pretty quickly for our opponent. They need a really good 4-drop here. Which, to be fair, their deck does that. And Kieran Nalar is a pretty good one. It's certainly not one I want to be blinking with Eldrazi Displacer, that's for sure. So, alright, let's think this through. I think it's probably correct to up the Aether Vial here. I mean, most of our stuff is at 3 mana, so it's almost always going to be correct anyways. Alright, so a lot of options here. I can just tap out to play the Sphinx. That has some value, but I actually think that's worse than holding up Path and Blink from Displacer. So I'm just going to go ahead and attack with both of these. Because I'll just put my Vial up to 4 and Vial in the Sphinx next turn. That's fine. At that point, the Vial is only good for the Thought-Knot Seers, but at that point, we're going to be out of cards in hand anyway, so we can just cast whatever we play. Whatever we draw. I don't really want them to do 2 damage to any target. But I suppose... Yeah, I may as well just path the thing now, I suppose. Hard to say. I just path it now. We have Displacer to handle any of the rest of our problems. I don't want them to start... Even if it's just killing my Spell Stutter Sprite. You know, they don't have the mana to chuck both of those to kill a Displacer, but even one would kill a Displacer because... Remember, this Phantasmal image copy, whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So just letting our opponent untap there with the P and Kieran Nalar would have meant death for our Displacer. So we had to avoid that this way around. Our opponent... I mean, they have some attacks here. I guess I would probably take a little bit of damage, but it doesn't look great for. I mean, if they attack with the team, then I can just blink the Zergo, trade with a Thopter, take 1. If they just attack with the Thopters, I can blink a Thopter, take 1. You know, there's just so many options available to me here that nothing really looks very good for them. Now, that said, I don't know what this deck is called. Legendary Red's a cool name, right? I think I've actually played a similar-ish version. Maybe it was Red-White before. Mox Amber is pretty powerful on the deck. I'm not going to say it's a great deck or whatever, but, you know, Mox Amber is powerful. Deck plays things like Hazoret, I believe, which is pretty cool. All right, so I think I'm down to just path the Zergo, or just blink the Zergo, take 1, trade off the Spell Starter Sprite. I could be wrong about who's the beatdown in the matchup. Of course, I would assume everyone knows what that means, but basically, who do I think is more aggressive? I feel like I have the late game advantage because of Displacers and Sphinx and so on, so I'm willing to trade away the Spell Starter Sprite now just to save myself a little bit of damage rather than try to race with it. Excuse me. Or to try to hold up blinks with it to counter their 1-mana spells, because to be quite honest, I mean, blinking their stuff probably going to prevent the same amount of damage. Displacer is just so powerful. This deck particular is really cool with it. I say that as they play a lightning bolt on our image on our guy here. That's fine. We still have one. What in the heck? Lupine Prototype cannot attack or block unless any player, has no cards in hand. The 5/5. Okay, fair enough, I suppose. Oh my, well, you know, we might be in trouble now. Like, I thought we were pretty good. I thought we were, no way they could play things that beat me. This card might beat me. Yep, I actually want to play my Mutavault too. In fact, I really want to play my Mute. I'm going to. No fear. In all honesty, this does make sense because we have 6 mana. You know, we have 5 mana, but we have 6 Eldrazi mana, so to speak. So this Displacer can still get rid of both of these this turn, even if they have a way to get rid of this thing. We put our Sphinx into play. This also might incentivize them to, I don't know, play something bad or give away information to try to unlock these, and we're just going to blink them anyways. And we're going to play a 4/4 to block the Zergos. That's pretty cool how Dash interacts with that. Unfortunately for our opponent, it is legendary, but worth it from their perspective to unlock the Lupine Prototypes. Unfortunately for them, this is just not going to work out at all. I'm going to take out one of the Lupine Prototypes here. I'm going to take out the other one here. And now I'm going to Vial in the Sphinx. I'm going to block everything they have. And then I'm going to attack back for 7, which means they are dead next turn unless they can kill us or deal with it. And with our Displacer out of no cards in their hand, they probably can't. Keep in mind, we also get to scry. So this game their deck was sweet and actually kind of did its thing. But honestly, I think this blue-white deck is pretty powerful. You know, against it has some of those pieces, Lavinia being one of them, that are extremely hit or miss. And in the bad matchups, it's pretty bad, right? You play against blue-white control. Lavinia is not doing a lot for you, but, you know, there's a lot of other decks, situations where it all works out very well. You know, and maybe the answer is in the end, Lavinia becomes a sideboard card for this deck that was already solid because, you know, like I said, I built this off of a list that had a 5-0 at some point. So just a lot going on here. All right, so, you know, I did this backwards, but I suppose it doesn't matter too much. We don't have any 5s pre-sideboard. So we're just always going to want to say on 4 here. All right, so, but we'd actually scry, and like I said, oh, that's just, so now we can, yeah, this game's just over. We get in for 7 here, put our opponent down to 6. We actually get a Thought-Knot Seer their draw step just to rub it in, and we have the Eldrazi Displacer to blink it. Yeah, this one's over. On to game 2. No idea what their deck has in game 2, that's for sure. Certainly don't know how they're boarding. We curved out great. This hand was sweet. I love it. All right, there we go. We won. On to game 2. What the heck do I want against Mono Red Legendary Lupine Prototype deck? I guess I don't want Lavinia. I mean, it does counter the Mox and actually does stop the Mox from ramping them. But I think the answer is to deal with what they play, not try to stop them from playing it. I mean, they are playing Zergo Bellstrikers after all. It's a pretty it is still a pretty low to the ground deck, but I think the Cataclysmic Gearhulks work well here. They can blow it up. They can wipe their board in a situation like that. And those are artifacts, so it does help a little. The Lupine Prototypes in specific, but it's all still really going to be very hard for them. WD Detention I want in here. Wall is actually fine. Thalia, actually maybe one of our worst cards in the matchup. I don't know if that's quite true, but it could be. I'll give the Dovin a shot. Why not? If this is the last one we're going to play with it, we may as well play Dovin. Never got the Mold Drifters in here, though. To be fair, Mold Drifters plus Dovin was sort of my grindy control plan. And remember, I just took the list off of a list that 5-0'd. I updated it with the new cards, and I basically kept the sideboard. The original sideboard had 4 Mold Drifters. I don't know where you want them. I mean, it's hard to even say... It's hard to even think about it because Mold Drifter is just not even played. With most decks, you can look at a sideboard and be like, okay, well, this is how they interact with this matchup. So I can figure that out. I got it. Even if I don't know what to sideboard out, I know what to sideboard in. You know, so I look at Mole Drifter and I see a divination. Okay, I see a divination on a creature. See a divination that can be vialed in. I see a divination that you can evoke for 3 and then use a vial to bring in a Flicker Wisp or a Displacer activation. Because evokes actually a trigger that goes on the stack. So you can respond to it by blinking the creature. So, you know, that's pretty good, right? If you have a vial, if it's turn 3, you have a vial, well, turn 4, I guess. You have a vial on 3. You vial in, or you evoke a Mole Drifter and you vial in a Flicker Wisp in response to exile the Mole Drifter. Well, you're going to draw 2. The evoke trigger is going to fail to resolve. You're going to draw 2 more on the instep when it comes back. So, look, I see the value in it. I just don't know what matchups I want it in. I guess Jund, Golgari, Control. I mean, that seems like the places you want it, and we didn't play against those decks, so we're not going to play it. But it's hard to say for sure. All right, I guess I'll keep this. Nah, none of these hands have been great, that's for sure, but hopefully we'll catch something with this Spellstutter Sprite. Ramanap Ruins, huh? What format is this? Oh my god. Ramanap Ruins into Zergo? Into Mox Amber? Man, this is red decks of Standard past coming home here. Jeez. That was aggressive. But that's what the deck does. No, it's actually funny because, you know, this obviously got banned in Standard. It was so good. And Zergo Bellstriker won a Pro Tour. I believe it was Pro Tour Magic Origins, and I believe it was Joel Larson who won it with this card. I could be wrong. That was the same event. I remember it while I was covering it. Mike Sigris won Player of the Year. Mike Sigris made by making, I believe, the literal finals of the Pro Tour to nudge out Eric Froelich in the year-long Player of the Year race. It is one of the more, you know, I don't know, as far as Player of the Year races go, right? I feel like last year has to just be number 1. It was an even more dramatic playoff than we had in 2010 with Brad and Guillaume. So, you know, last year with Seth and Luis probably is the best Player of the Year story that's ever, you know, come about in competitive Magic. 2010, I believe, is the year it was with Brad Nelson. That'd be right behind it. But I'll tell you what, that year where Mike Sigris took it on the last weekend, the last event, it might have just been the top 8 or semis, but I believe it was making the actual finals of the Pro Tour, which he did with the crazy blue-red artifacts deck out of Origin. Wild stuff, really. So, I don't know. Pretty cool. Anyways, that's quite the tangent there. It's a little history time with Corbin. Sorry. It's been if you can't tell, my idol in Magic coverage growing up was getting into the game was Brian David Marshall, the Pro Tour historian. So I too enjoy these Pro Tour stories. So all right, we got rid of the Kari Zev that was going to deal us a lot of damage. We've got a Zergo. That's fine. We'll take some. This is not a burn deck. You know, we're not going to take some damage from the creatures and then die to 6 burn spells. We're going to interact with their board. So what I really hope is that we get a Spellstutter Sprite, a 1-drop here. And then I can Phantasmal Image whatever and go from there. I'm sorry, Reflector Mage and go from there. Captain Lannery Storm, you say. Okay. I love it. It makes treasure. This is so cool. My opponent's deck is awesome. I want their list. I want to play this. If anybody, putting out the call to all of you on YouTube right now, if anyone has a list that looks like this mono red legendary list, if you have one that's, you know, it just at all tuned or anything, hit me up. I would love to give it a shot. In the meantime, let's just Reflector Mage old Captain Lannery Storm here. Which, by the way, remember, this card's standard playable. It hasn't been played, but it is standard. I mean, it's been played a little. There's been some cool Treasure Red decks, but I mean, we're in a new standard format, and it is still playable. If you're looking at Gruul or something like that, you know, maybe you have better options. There's a lot of great Gruul cards or whatever, right? But it's worth considering. Instantly making treasure is pretty good. All right, so what's our opponent do here? They have a Captain Lannery Storm in hand that they can't play. They have a Zergo Bellstriker they can't attack. We have 4 lands and a Flicker Wisp, so we can flicker our Reflector Mage next turn and mess them up again. And then, I don't know, see what happens the next couple turns. We still have the Cataclysmic Gearhulk, which, I don't know. I would assume that this is a reprint in creature form of the card Cataclysm. I'm not old enough to have played with Cataclysm, so I don't know for sure, but when it enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, and planeswalker. Well, it's certainly not a straight reprint of Cataclysm because it says planeswalker, but then you sacrifice the rest. Non-land. The lands don't go away. Hero's Blade. Equipped creature gets +3/+2 whenever a legendary creature in battlefield under your control may attach Hero's Blade to it. With dash, I don't know, everyone. That is some straight value right there. I don't know how to deal with that. This is so neat. All right, well. Are they going to use their treasure? Are they going to pass the turn back? Card costs 4 to equip, so. It's so. This deck is so neurotic. I don't know. Schizophrenic, maybe is the right way to say it. It's just all over the place. It's attacking fast. It's dashing in Zergos to deal damage. It's. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I keep coughing. It's got this really aggro line to it. Wow. Okay. Now my opponent's playing Mox Amber's to replace Mox Amber's to get a little more mana. Okay. Sack your treasure. I hope this isn't to replay Captain. Oh, a copter. Okay. Wild. Well, that's actually really, honestly, that's really good. Copter's actually just like extremely good here. It does mess up their artifacts. This Cataclysmic Gearhulk is getting better by the second. That's for sure. As a matter of fact, I kind of just want to do nothing. Let him hit me with the copter, maybe Spellstutter Sprite something, but I basically don't want to bounce anything with Reflector Mature. I want them to replay Captain Lannery Storm because I want them to have everything in play when I Cataclysm Gearhulk. So I guess I'll just keep the blocker back. Well, I probably should have. Maybe. I could have kept the block. I could keep the blocker back like I am. I could have also attacked, got in for damage, relied on the Mutavault to scare them, but I mean, they're probably crewing this copter here regardless. So if they play something very good I can get with Spellstutter Sprite, I will. And I can actually Spellstutter Sprite X equals 2 if I need to. This is insane. You can put this on here? That's so good. I mean, heck, maybe I should have attacked because the Zergo is going to crew the copter and the Lannery Storm's going to attack with the Hero's Blade on it. Maybe. It's a lot of damage coming out of this thing. All right. Maybe I should have attacked after all. I don't know. All right. Yep. We're going to crew the copter. I'm just going to chump block the Captain Lannery Storm. No, I'm not. I'll take. Well, I really don't want to take 8. No, I'm just going to have to block because they could also sacrifice the treasures and I could just take 10 and then really be dead. So I don't think I'll be playing it that way. I think I'm just going to chump block, save myself the damage, and then play a card that won't. I mean, we're not going to destroy their board. In fact, you know, in some ways it's going to be good though. It's going to be good. It's not going to end the game. It's not going to make them, you know, just instantly swing it towards us to where we can't lose, but it is going to be a strong play. They're going to have to decide between a lot. They're going to have to make a lot of hard choices here. Do they keep the copter and have card selection? Do they keep, you know, they're going to keep Captain Lannery Storm as their creature, but do they keep Hero's Blade? They're going to lose all their treasure here. You know, this is just really kind of rough for them. And oh, by the way, we're going to have a 4/5 that we get to have in after that. That is going to possibly come back and wipe the board again a couple of turns from now with Flicker Wisp. So, you know, our opponent's in a great position here. That's what's cool about their deck. Oh, they're gonna play some more stuff out? Playing more creatures here would be exactly what I want. I would much rather get creatures with the Gearhulk than treasure tokens. But we'll see. A Lupine prototype, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Alright, well, let's see what happens here. Deputy Detention is a nice follow-up as well. Honestly, our deck just has a lot of powerful cards in it. Alright, well, it's Cataclysmic Gearhulk and see what happens. It's pretty easy for me. I'll be keeping the Gearhulk. What do you want to do? If I were them, I honestly don't know what I would do here. I would probably keep the Lupine prototype as my artifact. I don't even know. So you get to choose one of each. So what if they made this a creature? So I think what I would do is crew the copter with the Lupine prototype. Well, maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe you keep the... I really don't know. It's actually a really hard call. You know, I think you could keep the Lupine prototype as your artifact, the Captain Landry Storm as a creature, or even the copter as your creature and the prototype as your artifact, or vice versa. Honestly, that might have been what I would do, because then you would get to every turn crew the copter, attack, loot. You're actually attacking me in a way that is going to deal damage to me because you're flying in through the air. You might just kill me in 4 turns, but even if you don't, you're looting. Instead, what my opponent has done is keep a creature that cannot attack or block, a Hero's Blade that cannot be... I mean, this obviously means that they have another legendary creature that they're going to be throwing the Hero's Blade on. But like I said, we have a Flicker Wisp. I don't know if this is going to work out much better for them. And I can keep Flicker Wisp as my creature and Cataclysmic Earhulk as my artifact. And they're just going to get just repeatedly wiped here. Heck, we'll have Spell Sorter Sprite with either of those. If we hit a land, we can also have a Deputy in Detention. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, and they're not even going to attack because they couldn't dash. Well, they could have dashed in. Oh, no, it's going to be even worse for them. They're playing out more artifacts. Uh-oh. Oh, sorry, friend. Oh, no. If you had dashed to Zergo and got in there for damage, that might have worked out a little better. Playing this Pithy Needle, it doesn't matter what you name. You name Mutavault, you name Obero. I'm named Displacer, chose Mutavault. I'm just going to play Flicker Wisp. I don't even think it's correct. Oh, I guess I should have attacked first. Can't with power 2 or greater, not power 2 or less. So that was actually a mistake. I actually missed out on some damage here. Not that I think it'll matter. I think this game is likely going to end in our opponent probably just scooping as we repeatedly wipe their board, but we'll see. I get to pass the turn back with Spell Sorter Sprite up here. My opponent has to choose between their creatures and artifacts yet again. Just this one, that first one I think was possible for them to come back from, right? They obviously actually had to pass back with a pretty solid board state, but they're just losing so many cards now. I get to keep both of mine. I don't know what they want to do. Maybe they're going to keep the Needle. No, they're not going to keep the Needle. It is. They're going to keep the Zergo, Bell Striker, and the Hero's Blade, probably. It's probably what they should keep. Just so that they have anything. Maybe the Lupine prototype in the Hero's Blade. Nope, yeah, this is the only thing that makes sense. So this is just really rough for them now. They're down to something that's just going to trade with our Gear Hulk. If they have a 1-drop, it's going to get countered. I'm just going to trade. I've already got my 2 uses out of it. It should be enough. Now, whatever they do, I can just Deputy of Detention it away with Spell Sorter Sprite back hook to protect my Deputy from a Lightning Bolt or what have you. So, yeah, this looks pretty good for the team here. I say that. Harsh Mentor, huh? That's their last card in hand. An artifact, creature, or land on the battlefield if it isn't... So you have to activate an ability. So it's good against my Displacer or my Vial, but not much else. I'm going to keep my Spell Sorter Sprite in hand. Ooh, a Wall of Omens, huh? You know what? Wall's actually kind of sweet here. I'm just going to play it. It's actually the first Wall of Omens I've drawn the entire time with playing this deck. Another Spell Sorter Sprite. Good for the long haul here. Alright, I'm going to get rid of the Hero's Blade with this. I need to get white mana. Well, we're doing this without the backup of Spell Sorter Sprites, but that's a lot easier call for me to make once I know my opponent is top decking as they are. You know, if they have a card in hand, I'm willing to give it respect and play around it as I can. But once they're top decking, the odds of them having a relevant, a relevant spell that our spell setter sprite could handle just goes down by so much, right? It's reasonable to believe they're holding on to one, but if they top deck one, they top deck one. They didn't top deck one and we won the game. So there you go. Like I said, we were going to untap, have double spell stutter. We were just going to roll to victory from there, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This deck was really cool. And I'm really excited because, I play a lot of decks and I brew a lot, but I don't always play things I've brewed with and sort of feel a bit of ownership over. And I'm not saying that with this or anything. Like I said, most of this list came from an online list that had done well. But you know what I did? I said I think this is the perfect home for Lavinia and Deputy, and I think that the Sphinx of Foresight maybe has a place here. I even tried Sphinx of New Prov in testing. But I feel like this deck has a lot of tools going for it. It's not as good as your traditional Taxes deck at destroying mana bases, all stuff. There's no Leon and Arbiters in here, but it interacts with just such a wide range of the format. I mean, we're a creature deck. We have exactly 8 non-creature spells, and they only interact with creatures, Ether Vials and Path to Exiles. And yet, we played against the creatureless artifact control deck and just stomped it, thanks to Lavinia and Spell Stutter sprites and Flicker Wisps and Deputy of Detentions and just all kinds of cool stuff. So this deck was awesome, everybody. The deck tech's up next. Again, thank you TCGplayer for these videos. Thank you to all of you for watching. I'm Corbin Hostler. This is Mighty Modern. See you next. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mighty Modern. This is the deck tech for Lavinia Taxes. So this is a wild list. So somebody who on Magic Online is called FTZZ. I don't know who that is, but they 5-0'd a league a couple months ago or a month ago. I'm not sure when I pulled this from, but they 5-0'd a league with a blue-white Taxes list that looks very similar to this. So what I did is I bookmarked that and said, you know what? As soon as I get Lavinia, I am in. So here we are. Ravnica Allegiance. It's out on Magic Online. It's out on MTG Arena. It's out in paper now, so that's great. Check it all out. Of course, you can get all your RNA needs, including this deck on TCGplayer. So make sure, if you like it, to go ahead and follow the links to the article or to the deck list on there. But let's talk about this. So Lavinia is the reason I wanted to play this deck. Now, this card's just so good. Completely bonkers in Vintage, but we are playing Modern, where it's still pretty solid. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. So while this is definitely aimed more at, the legacy format or Vintage or whatever, you start talking Moxes or, Force of Will or whatever. But in Modern, that first clause, each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands they control. Well, you know what? That stops a pod player. Woo, what year is it? That stops a company player from companying on turn 3 with Mana Dork. It stops, this is the big one, of course, a Tron player from just popping off. So now it is, I think, a little weaker in the main deck. It's probably going to just end up being a sideboard card in Modern, but we're going to try it. And you know what else we're going to try here? Sphinx of Foresight. I mean, heck, this deck already plays 4/4 for 4s. We may as well add another one, right? This is a cool card. So it's essentially an Eldrazi and Taxes deck, but it's a blue-white Eldrazi deck, and it doesn't have Leon and Arbiter. It's actually very different, super innovative, and the only changes I've made to the list in order to get Lavinia in here, as well as Deputy of Detentions, by the way. I love this one as well. So we have Ether Vial. All these creatures work very well with it. So I cut 2 Wall of Omens, I cut a Vincer Shaper Savant, and I cut a Vendilion Click. Pretty easy. I got 4 new cards into the deck that might or might not be better. And, the walls cut makes sense. We have more 2-drops, so we fill the curve. We don't get value blinking it as much, but hey, that's probably okay. But the Deputy Detentions are great. Sphinx Foresight should be pretty good here. Displacer, of course, can blink everything, set up a lock with Thought-Knot Seer. Reflector Mage, very powerful. Thalia, the biggest tax effect around, the most playable of all of them. Path for removal, images to copy stuff, and even Spell Stutter Sprite in here. Counters 1-drops, but hey, if you have fairies, it counters more, and we do have a couple Mutavaults. Now, again, the original list was running 4 Mutavaults, and it's also running some blue-white cards, right? It had the Reflector Mages, but because I added more harsh mana requirements to the deck, and the Deputed Attention and the Lavinia here. I cut 2 Mutavaults as well to make room for just a basic island and a basic plains, right? We just added, added an Obero here so we can have a little choke protection. Although, this can also convert into double blue mana if you really need it, and that is relevant. So I think it's actually a worthy inclusion. Everything else pretty much what you would expect. Eldrazi Temples. And the other thing is, I don't know what the mana was like in the original, but I have played a lot of decks like this. And between Eldrazi Temples and a bunch of Mutavaults, you sometimes get hosed on your colored mana, even when you just, want to play normally, not even when you necessarily have double colored. Anyways, everybody, that's the deck. The sideboard is pretty interesting as well. The Burnt and Forged Cinders are here for the board wipes, the Anger of the Gods. More Lavinias, of course, for Tron. I even threw a Dovin Bond in here, because why not? Against a control deck, you can play this thing out on turn 3 while violating stuff in, and then, I don't know, making Thopters is probably pretty good. And who knows, maybe we're getting Ultimate. But whatever, we're trying out new cards, that's the idea. The original list had 4 Mole Drifters in the sideboard, and I'll tell you, I love it, but it just can't be right. Like, this card hasn't even sniffed Modern play. But we kept some, don't worry. Rest in peace, Stony Silences. Cataclysmic Gearhulk even. We are an Ether Vial deck after all, I guess. Like I said, I'm just working off the list that did well with some innovations of my own here, and I'm excited. I'm recording this before I record, so I am excited to see how we do. So everybody, this is the deck tech for Lavinia Taxes. Thank you for watching. I'm Corbin Hostler. I suppose I should actually... I didn't pull these over very well. Whoop, there you go. So you can actually read these cards. The Gearhulk, I'm sorry, I had part of the screen cut off there. If you actually want to read it, Cataclysmic Gearhulk. When it enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, and a planeswalker, then sacrifice the rest. Now this is an artifact, so you can choose artifact for it. And Mole Drifter, of course, cost 5, 2/2 flyer, evoke for 3, draw 2 cards. So there you go. The deck actually seeing the full sideboard this time. The edge got cut off there. Thank you for watching, everybody.